Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas podcast, where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joining me down there in Decatur, Georgia, my good friend, fellow University of North Georgia alumni, Matt Green. Matt, good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, sir. It's good to be back with you, talking ball like we do, ready to make some picks. And I got some good nuggets for you this week for the good people. How you been, sir?
Busy, man. We got a lot of stuff cooking here. We got Vols Hub live over there on the site as we're building out Vols Hub TPL, and just a lot of Tennessee basketball's back. Baseball's playing over the weekend. It's just Tennessee Lady Vols smashing number 15 UNC over the weekend. They're Bart Torvik loves their analytics coming in the year. They look like a top 20 team. So as you know, can't get tired of winning here on Rocky Top, Matt Green. It seems like it's going to be a lot more winning down the stretch with the men's and women's basketball teams, and then Tennessee as well. So just the content and sports never stop here, Matt Green.
Good stuff, sir.
Hey, we're closing in. It seems like on a big recruit. Georgia on the verge of potentially losing Shamari Earls, losing Jared Curtis. What's going on at Georgia, man? Like, it's just I don't know.
Hey, Georgia also landed the number one defensive lineman in the country at that time as well. So don't you worry about Georgia. Maybe flipping a Florida commit at D-line. I think we all know we can just trust Kirby Smart to recruit, and he'll get some good players on the squad.
Many are worried what's going on in Athens.
Are many worried about Georgia recruiting? I don't think those people have looked at the Georgia roster or recruiting class anytime soon.
I can only tell you what the feeling is on the outside, Matt Green. People are wondering. Well, sir, you have a couple of items you want to get into before we get into our Week 10 picks and preview here tonight, Matt Green. I'm letting you lead the show here before we get into our pick'em. So where are we going with the CFP director? And Nigel the Nighthawk was busy here.
Nigel was breaking some news this week. The CFP executive director, Rich Clark, I don't know if you've seen this. He said the selection committee will not avoid rematches in their bracket. Just said it's going to happen. It's just going to happen. And obviously it's going to happen. But that's why we should avoid it where we can. And I feel like this is a big failure. If we're legit, like if we could swap the 7 and 8 seeds, or or whatever we have to do, and then the first round is definitely the most important to not have rematches, because you can actually control that bracket. If there's just what happens and we end up having rematches, that's fine. But I think an effort should definitely be made to enjoy it, because there's a precedent for this. It's like this college football playoff selection committee acts like this is like some sort of new endeavor. It's like, bro, all the other divisions have been doing a playoff for years. The NCAA tournament has been a thing with a selection committee for years. And in basketball, the tournament has always made a point to try to separate teams that are in the same conference. Like if there's 4 teams that are in the same conference in the tournament, most likely they're going to be in 4 different brackets. If there's 8 or something, then they usually form the bracket so that those teams won't play until the Elite 8 or something. If there's a bunch, there's only a limited amount you can do, but I think we've seen that before. So I've seen certain brackets set up with it would be Clemson and Ole Miss to play Georgia in the next round. And it's can we try? We see so limited games on the national scale. It would be nice to avoid rematches if possible. It should at least be in the back of their minds, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I think that's probably still in the back of their minds. They're just getting ahead of it if there are some, you know what I mean? I think they're going to look for the best possible matchups. I think that's the whole thing, is put the best possible matchups on television, because
that's what according to, if you trust him at his word, he's saying we're making no effort to avoid rematches.
Yeah, maybe that was something you say, and then you hear the reaction after, and if the pushback is strong, you're like, okay, well, maybe we should. Or if it doesn't go well, I don't know. We're still couple months away here almost.
And at the end of the season, you're just like, no, we just legitimately thought Clemson was better than Tennessee, and that's why they're the 7 seed and Tennessee's the 8, and has nothing to do with the rematch. Maybe they'll just say it that way.
Yeah.
And if they're doing it on the low, yeah, cool. I'm here for it. But yeah, there's so many limited matchups. I'm just I feel like if we can avoid rematches, we should, because there's a potential of seeing some teams like play 3 times this year. Like, obviously, Ohio State, if they lose this week, they're probably not going to be playing Oregon in the Big Ten championship. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I'm pro avoiding rematches if possible.
For sure, but I'm just not going to get there yet. Like, let me see what it looks like first. Let's get through one CFP 12 team field before our Dumb and Dumber expressions are popping out, like our pets' heads are falling off and stuff. So let's just see what it looks like first here before we really freak out about the matchups here, Matt Green. So where are we going next?
Absolutely. So I got some blind resumes here for you, sir. And we got a nice fancy graphic we're going to put on the screen to show this, hopefully. So looking at some undefeated teams, and it's just really interesting how the rankings are set up right now with all these different undefeated teams. So I got some blind resume stats here for you. ESPN FPI ranks among these 5 teams. You got one of them at 12, one at 6, one at 22, one at 15, and one at 28. I read them out of order, but it's not important. So you look at all those rankings, like one's at 6 and one's at 28. The one at 28 has 0 wins over the current top 25. The best win is over number 29 in ESPN's FPI. The one at 6 also has 0 wins over any top 25 teams, and they have 1 win over a top 50 team. So it's interesting how that's somehow a better resume. Also, I mean, they rank this number 6 team at number 3 in offensive efficiency and number 46 in defensive efficiency. But the only one on this list that has any top 25 wins has 2, and that's the team that comes in at number 15 in the ESPN FPI, and the one that comes in at number 12 in the actual rankings. So I'm going to uncover these teams here. So if you're not listening on podcasts, let's bring these people in. So the team that's at 12 is number 5, Miami. And that's interesting because Miami just right now has a way better just reputation than all these other teams. They have a legitimate Heisman candidate. They are a traditional power in the sport, But in the FPI rank, Indiana is actually number 6. So I found that really interesting. Indiana is ranked 13th right now. Iowa State is ranked 11th, 22 in FPI. BYU is number 9 and 15 in FPI. And then Pitt is the last one at what are they ranked right now? Number 18, and they're 28 in the FPI. So Miami is sitting here with no top 25 wins. They do have the most wins over top 50 teams. So, there is that. Louisville at 30. Virginia Tech is actually top 25 in the FPI, but not in the rankings. They're at 23. And then Florida and Cal, so none of these teams have really played anybody, but right now it feels like Miami is a national title contender, and the rest of these are just going to be kind of, if they make the playoff, that's because it's a watered down playoff.
I get what you're saying, but Miami's going to have some big games. Obviously, they still have Clemson on the schedule. Like you said, 4 top 50 wins. Part of it is like they're number 2 in offensive efficiency. That's why they're getting love. They have the Heisman favorite probably in Cam Moore.
But Indiana is number 3.
Right, but in a neutral site. I mean, that one can go either way. That's more of a coin flip. I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana beat Miami in a neutral site, and I also wouldn't be surprised the other way. Indiana, their problem is like what's week to week on that efficiency without Curtis Rourke, like his availability down the stretch here and what that looks like. I mean, they'll be on the road in East Lansing that we'll get to in a little bit, but I don't know. I guess, but I would probably posit or push back. It feels like the national narrative around probably Indiana is probably different. I feel like if we polled most national folks or asked most national folks, they're probably bigger believers in Indiana than Miami would be my guess if we asked around on that one. Yeah, because I think Indiana's just taking care. Like Indiana, they're not. I think the thing about Indiana, Kurt Cignetti, I think people trust more than Mario Cristobal. That man, you know where to find him. He just wins. Look him up. Google him.
I
But
will say right now, Indiana is the 4th highest ranked of these 5 teams.
yeah, and part of that, again, Indiana just in uncharted waters. But like, I think there's no question Indiana's better with a healthy Curtis Rourke, better than Iowa State and BYU. I think everyone kind of understands both are fraudulent. At some extent, like I'm not poo-pooing what they've done. Like all they're doing is winning what they should be doing, and it's an awesome story. But if they both get undefeated to the Big 12 title game, you don't put them both in the loser. You put one in. You put whoever. That's essentially a playing game. Pitt though is probably the hardest for me to figure out because Pitt, Eli Holstein, good quarterback. I think that's part of it. Pat Narduzzi, good offseason hire, big OC hire from Western Carolina. He's been really good for them. So I don't know. I think Pitt is probably the most mercurial and hardest to figure out, but Miami's got a lot to prove. I think people are just waiting for Miami to drop one. The defensive stuff's weird because they're good in sacks. I think their front. They kind of remind me of Grantham's defense in some ways, where Tyler Barron and company, like they've got some dudes in their front
good
seven.
Grantham defense, or
yeah, where they're going to get after guys. They're going to give up a
defense?
lot of points, but they're going to bring the house and they're going to do. I mean, remember what they did against Florida in that front seven. So we've seen good versions of the Hurricane defense, and they're good in certain stats. It just depends on what you're looking at with Miami, but I don't know. I think Miami's just still TBD, sir.
So these 5 teams, how many are making the playoff?
2.
And it's going to be who? Miami and which one of these Big 12 teams?
Yeah, that's
makes
my
it?
gut. Yeah.
Who's winning it? BYU, Iowa State.
Probably BYU, but I mean, again, like we're just in. I remember in our preview where I went back through Iowa State's history. I mean, just Iowa State is just when we talk BYU's at least been here. Like they're surprising some folks, but Iowa State is just like I'm gonna believe it till I see it till the very end here. I like Matt Campbell. Rockebeck's a good story, but
Yeah.
I'm still a TBD on that one. I'll believe that they finish 12-0 and go in the title game undefeated when I see it. I think Iowa State's still like 2-loss team by the end of the year. That's my guess.
And BYU's got the wins over Kansas State and SMU.
They feel more real to
was
me
that
than Iowa State.
Was that Kevin Jennings SMU, or was that before he became
a good
the starter?
question.
That may have been the season opener. But yeah, so they actually do have 2 wins over current ranked teams. But yeah, we'll see how it turns out, sir. Also, not necessarily a blind resume, but I feel like this needs to be like it's like a college football like psychological experiment here. Comparing the Texas Longhorns and the Clemson Tigers, sir. Both of these teams have 1 loss. I would say, Clemson got blown out more, but they were both kind of dominated by Georgia. Neither has a win over a currently ranked opponent. Clemson's beaten teams by 19 points per game. Texas beaten teams by 26 points per game. Clemson 4th in offensive efficiency, 23rd in defensive efficiency. Texas 22nd in offensive efficiency, 2nd in defensive efficiency. So they're just kind of swapped. What's the difference between those 2 teams? I feel like the difference is one of them lost the very first game and then blew out teams for 6 straight weeks. And the other one blew out inferior teams for sure, both of them, for 6 straight weeks, and then got dominated by Georgia. It's almost like, but I still feel like the current opinion is that Texas is a much more legit title contender than Clemson, and I'm not really sure why.
I mean, we'll still see on Clemson. I don't know. Clemson it was a little bit different in terms of what Clemson looked like against Georgia than Texas.
But it was also 2 months ago now at this point. Like Texas just got dominated last week or 2 weeks ago. So I don't know. It's interesting because I think we should still see on Texas. I'm not necessarily saying Clemson is a true title contender. I'm just like pointing out it's kind of weird, the different perception that Clemson's just so obviously not legit, but Texas is still, they might win the national title. I think the difference is not really that. I don't think these 2 teams are actually that different.
Maybe we shall see. But I think one went to the playoff last year, and this is a worse. This is a better team. this year with Texas, but we'll see. It was Mulligan. Their one loss against Georgia. I understand there is some stuff there, but I don't know. I'm still gonna err on the side of Texas over Clemson.
And most people probably will. That leads me to my other point, sir. Shall we call him Cade Klubnik? Oh, did you see what I did there, sir? So early in the year, I made the comparison with Cade Klubnik and 2022 Bo Nix after both getting blown out by Georgia in the season opener. Dude, this is aging like fine wine here, sir. So through 7 games now, Cade Klubnik 146 for 219 completions. Bo Nix 153 for 214, almost identical. Percentage is better for Bo Nix. Klubnik 1,836 yards. Bo Nix 1,809 yards. Klubnik 24 total touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Bo Nix through 7 games had 25 total touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Nix had 382 yards rushing to just 227 for Cade Klubnik. Both offenses, Clemson is let me see. Oregon that year through 7 games was averaging 42.4 points per game. Clemson is averaging 42 points per game. These teams 6-1. They're almost identical. I don't have what 2022 Oregon finished right in front of my face, but that's exactly who 2024 Clemson is, as far as I'm concerned. It's almost identical. Cade Klubnik. That's what I'm calling him.
Well, we're gonna learn now. We're gonna learn a lot more about this Clemson team over the next three weeks, because they get Louisville at home, a good team somewhere in the top 5 in the ACC, top 4 maybe. At Vodtech, that'll be tough. It's always tough playing in Vodtech, and then at Pitt is going to be way more interesting, and they've had trouble with Pitt before. So we'll see on Clemson. They're another TBD, and also South Carolina at home. I don't know that South Carolina is going to get after this Clemson team on that Saturday. It's the South Carolina team I'm feisty on right now, Matt Green. But that's a victory lap for me this offseason, was me buying the South Carolina stock and selling all the Kentucky stock, where we had to look who is more.
Were you buying South Carolina stock? You were saying Shane Beamer was on the hottest seat of anybody coming into the season.
I did not, sir. That is absolutely false. Absolutely false. And I said that.
I don't know. You were trying to put him in that Billy Napier, Sam Pittman group before the season. I recall that, sir. I don't know. I don't know if you were buying any South. You're the number one Gamecock hater out there, sir. When did this happen?
Look, America's team this weekend. Many are saying America's team. Here in East Tennessee, we're all Beamer heads this weekend.
So why are we rooting? Why are people rooting for South Carolina?
You need Texas A&M to go down. You need them to get an SEC loss here. You need they're right there with Tennessee.
Is that right?
That spot, yeah. You need A&M to go down. Every Tennessee fan should be rooting for South Carolina this weekend pretty heavily.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough.
All right, Matt Green. Well, let's get into our Week 10 pick'em, sir. Where do we stand as we get started with our teams back after both being on a bye last week, sir?
All right. As we said last week, pretty good week for both of us. Some better than others, I will say. You now are sitting at 69-40 overall. I'm 73-36 overall. Got a 4-game lead on you. And then you are 47-61-1 on the season against the spread. I got a 7-game lead on you there. 54-54-1, back up to 500. And like I told the people, last 3 weeks, your boy over here is 25-11 against the spread. So, I'm not saying take it to the bank, but take it to the bank. No, we're not giving gambling advice on this. If you miss your picks, that's on you. All right. So and then Zeus on the season, 8-6, home dog of the week. So we'll see what Zeus has got cooked up this week.
Not bad, above 500. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
All right, sir. Well, let's start here with. It's funny, both 16.5 point lines for our teams this weekend. Kentucky 16.5-point road dogs coming into Knoxville on Saturday night. Former Volunteer offensive tackle Gerald Mincey's not playing in this game. JJ Weaver is out. The injury report is pretty brutal for Kentucky here on a Wednesday night ahead of this game. But dark mode with the Venom look, great stuff from the Tennessee football video department, gearing up for this one for the dark mode unis on a.
Oh, this is dark mode.
Oh, this is dark mode Saturday night. It's a tradition. They do dark mode now. This is against Kentucky. The last 2 times
They do it against Kentucky.
Yeah, because they did it 2 years ago and they came too. So, that's what they do, sir. But what say you, Matt Green, about Tennessee, Kentucky this Saturday night?
Yeah, so obviously we still need to see more from this Tennessee offense. We still haven't seen the end of that streak of 3 consecutive games without scoring in the first half. This Kentucky defense is pretty good, but the offense has just been so bad. It's like they're not helping their defense out in any way. So I don't know. We've seen this team. We saw that both of these teams play Florida the last couple weeks with very different results. I don't know. Kentucky's lost 3 straight coming into this one. Like you said, it's dark mode. Like with Tennessee, they've won 4 conference games. Played 4 conference games. One of them they won by 10, obviously lost to Arkansas, beat Florida in overtime, beat Alabama by 7. So seeing them beat anybody by like 17 points, it's like they're struggling to score 17 points in some of these conference games. So I think just for that reason, I can't pick Tennessee. I can't trust Tennessee to cover that big of a spread right now. But I don't think they should have any trouble. I feel like this is I almost said 27-10, which would definitely be covering the spread. Give me 24-10. Tennessee wins this one, but doesn't cover the spread.
Well, we agree right out of the gate here, Matt Green, because I also lean towards Tennessee not covering here. This just screams low scoring close, because I think Tennessee fans, they really want to grab onto the 3 drives from Nico Iamaleava in the second half of that game that feels like forever ago against Alabama 2 weeks ago. And he had 3 great drives. I think Nico is growing. I think Nico will continue to get better as this season goes along. However, I still think it's the consistency that people think when people think the light bulb clicks on. I think people just think that means consistency from here on out, like in the Hendon Hooker 2022 mold. And I just don't think that is fair or realistic down the stretch here for Nico. I think Dylan Sampson's going to have a big day. I'm curious to see what the rotation looks like at running back. Do they still give Dylan Sampson 26 carries to take him home in the second half? Do we see Cam Seldon get reintroduced into the lineup with Deshaun Bishop and we get more of a rotation? How does the offensive line look, even with some key guys out for Kentucky? That's going to be huge. What does the wide receiver rotation look like with some guys banged up? I'm really curious at who gets reps and whatever for Tennessee. That's kind of more of the nitty gritty here for the Vol folks listening. And, I think Tennessee 3-0 to this point since Heupel has been the Tennessee head coach. But the thing is, Tennessee has not given up 20-plus points from anybody all season long. It was Vanderbilt, I think, was the last team that they gave up 20-plus points to last season. Kentucky is next to dead last in scoring in conference play. Only Houston nationally has been worse scoring the football in conference play. This team is just awful. And the 1-5 slide in conference play for Kentucky is pretty abysmal. However, their one conference win, and of course, it's just against a really good Ole Miss team on the road. So that's why you got to be on your P's and Q's here if you're the Vols, and don't take this lightly, because the last time you had a bye week, you lost at Arkansas. So that's something to keep in mind. But this offense just can't score enough. The reason I just can't even make even a contrarian take as to why Kentucky can make this interesting is I don't think Kentucky has the offense to make it interesting. I think this defense is just too good and has given up 4 plays of 30-plus yards all season long. I don't think the big plays are there. I don't think Kentucky's going to be able to score enough. Tennessee's not going to have to do a lot. Nico's not going to do a lot. So I think folks who are maybe hoping that this is the breakout game for this offense, maybe they score in the first half and that kind of thing, and that helps stuff. But my gut is I think this is going to be low scoring. I think Tennessee's going to play keep away and run and just get out of here with a nice, boring win. And I think Kentucky's going to keep it close with their defense and ball control. So that's my gut. So I'm going to go Tennessee 24, Kentucky 10.
Oh, same score.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, sir. Now your Georgia Bulldogs world's greatest outdoor cocktail party. That's not called that anymore. What's it called now, sir?
World's largest outdoor cocktail.
Yeah, that's
it is also the greatest, but yeah, I don't know. They call it like the Battle for the Ore or something. War for the Ore, maybe. So there's some sort of like ore, like a little trophy associated with it, but I don't think anyone pays attention to that.
Well, you've been down there. Have you seen the ore? Is it a
I've never
thing?
seen the ore, so okay. I don't even know what that is. I feel like I've seen something like in the locker room after the games. Like they I don't know. It sounds vaguely familiar, but yeah, it's the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, sir. Dogs have coming in have won 3 straight in the series, 6 of the last 7. I guess you saw the recent announcement that this game was going to be played in Atlanta and Tampa in 2026 and 2027 while they do renovations instead of doing the home and home for a couple years like they did back in the 90s. That's a real bummer to me. I feel like, I mean, obviously the main reason they did it is because they got a bunch of money. It was like $10 million or something for both schools to do that. But I don't know if it's $10 million a year or $10 million for both years. I'm not sure. But
I get that more when Tech does it. I don't get it as much when it's some SEC schools playing against each other.
I think, honestly, my personal theory is it was going to be so awesome doing it home and home that there was going to be a little more enthusiasm for people like wanting to move it to campuses. And it's like, if you like kind of give it an inch, then people be like, oh, this was sick having Florida play in Athens. So that's
I would hate to give fans what they wanted. I would hate to give fans something that they would actually be more into. We can't have that.
Of course, so you got to keep getting that money. It's not going in my pockets, but yeah, so I guess that's probably the reason. But back to this game. Hey, the Jacksonville tradition is a lot of fun. So I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing it rotate to the campuses. We've taled about that before.
Are you going? Have you decided?
No, I don't think I will be making this trip this year. Thought about it, but not going to be able to pull it out. Georgia's won 3 straight. Like I said, coming into this, they also won 3 straight. 2017, 18, 19. Also won 3 straight. 11, 12, 13. Need to get to that 4th straight. They need to get that streak, that streak up there a little bit. Last time they won more than 3 straight was from 78 to 83, won 6 straight in this rivalry. First 21 years of my life, sir, Georgia won this game 3 times, lost it 18 times. Since then, 9-4. So the tide has really turned in this rivalry. I don't know if you saw the video Graham Coffey made for this. It was pretty good. Kind of, and that's how I feel about this game. Like the Steve Spurrier and Kirby Smart, like origin stories. Like Steve Spurrier really did take exception to Georgia. Like there was something different when he's coaching at Florida and at South Carolina. There's just like, there's a different hatred he had for Georgia ever since they ruined his undefeated season his last year in college. And it feels like, so he went 11-1 when he was at Florida against Georgia, and then 5-6 at South Carolina, which might not sound impressive, but Georgia's 49-14 all time against South Carolina outside of the Spurrier years. So the fact that he was 5-6 in his 11 years at South Carolina is kind of absurd. But yeah, back in 93, Florida hung 50 on Georgia in Sanford Stadium. Kirby Smart was on the field for that. And maybe that is his origin story, because this man really seems to hate Florida. Like he takes this rivalry as seriously, I feel like, as the fans do. He lived through those 90s Florida years. So I think that's the one thing that it feels like every year, this is kind of the game where Georgia starts to hit their stride. Like since Kirby took over, I should say. Like, this is the game where it's like, oh, you're coming out of the bye week. Like, offense, maybe played some close games so far. It's like there's something about the confidence when they go in and play Florida. Like, it's like a neutral site, like a championship type of feel. I don't know what it is, but it's like this team has more confidence if they get a win, I should say. And they've gotten a win the last 6 of the last 7 years. But there's something about this game that, like, it feels like a peak in the season, and then it's all downhill. Like, the team gets rolling after this.
I mean, Dan Jackson, Janelle Aguero, both out for the first half in this one due to targeting penalties. I think Tate Ratledge, we'll see what he's able to do come game time. Smile Mondon, I think he's out too, right? Doesn't look like he's going to be able to go.
Yeah, I think he's still out for this one.
So, I don't know. I think, did you give a score or no?
No, I haven't given my pick. I was just giving a little background. I was just just going back and forth here.
I thought you were putting it back on me because you know where I'm going with this.
Oh, I mean, do you want me to go ahead and make my pick? Is your pick the finale of this?
I think so.
Okay, so like you said, Janelle Aguero and Dan Jackson out for the first half of this game. Although, did you see the news? Eugene Wilson is actually out for this one. I think that's. But
I will argue
huge.
Doesn't actually work. Doesn't actually pose a problem for the Florida Gators based on how this offense runs. Now with DJ
right?
That was a bigger issue for Graham Mertz with the checkdowns and the crossers and over the middle stuff. Big Cannon Lagway, not the same deal. That man's going downfield with Elijah Badger and company. That's Eugene Wilson's not that kind of receiver.
Yeah, I mean, that could definitely be true. This Georgia defense has given up some big plays at times this year. But we are coming off the best we've seen this defense look all season. And I feel like I can't, and that's just one game. We've also seen how both of these teams played when they played Kentucky, and those went very differently. But it's like the Texas game is fresh in your mind. If I'm seeing what Georgia did to Steve Sarkisian coach team and Quinn Ewers in the backfield, it's hard for me to think a Billy Napier coach team and a true freshman quarterback making his third career start. It's hard for me to see that guy having more success. As talented as he is, he's thrown 5 touchdowns, 5 picks to this point. And this Florida run defense has just been really bad. Like Georgia's run game has not been great this year. The Texas game is probably one of their better performances. But I think Georgia's going to be able to do what they want on the run. I think that's going to open up the pass. And I just don't see Florida's defense having much success against Georgia in this game. So I'm going to take Georgia. I think, and I was actually going back and looking at these last couple of games because it was 42-20 last year and 43-20 the year before, or I might be flipping those. And then 2021 was like 34-7. A lot of these games have been really competitive, but Georgia has won in blowouts. So I'm not necessarily saying this game is going to feel like a blowout, but I think Georgia wins this one and covers. So I'm going to say Georgia wins it 34-17.
It's interesting because Georgia's next 3 games are huge. You beat Texas, which was huge, obviously, for the Dogs, but they're still projected to go 10-2 per ESPN's FPI. And if they're going to get, all apologies to Georgia Tech and Citadel, but I don't think those two are going to be the two that get Georgia down the stretch here. Tennessee's coming to your place.
Can I add a stat to that, what you're saying? Georgia's one of 3 FBS teams in the country with a current strength of schedule of top 10 in the country and a remaining strength of schedule of top 10 in the country. The other 2 are Kentucky and Mississippi State.
And to that point, I just don't think Georgia, I mean, it will be extremely impressive if Georgia gets out of Texas, Florida, Ole Miss, and Tennessee unscathed. Like, that is a testament based on where this team is.
Well, they haven't lost to Bama, so they're scathed.
Well, no, I'm saying that's 11-1. I'm saying I would be very surprised with this iteration. Like previous Georgia teams for the last couple of years, I'd be less surprised about them making it through 11-1. I think this team making it 11-1 would be a Kirby Smart special to get this team in this iteration of the Dogs, who are really struggling. Carson Beck, we talked about in the last week's show of just where this offense is at, how banged up they are on the offensive line, how banged up they are in a lot of key spots, just where the wide receiver depth is right now, losing Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, who are excelling in the NFL to an extreme degree. So really showing how special they were for Georgia the last couple of years.
No
And I
one's
think,
surprised.
I mean, they've both been awesome. But you also see with them gone, it's like, okay, well, what's it going to look like? So on my end, Matt Green, the last 3 have been blowouts, right? And I think this is going to be the closest game in years since 2020, obviously, for the Gators. Eugene Wilson, like you mentioned, he's out. I think that would have been a bigger issue with Graham Mertz. We saw how Graham Mertz and company looked against Georgia last season. The thing that I've learned about, I think we can take away from the Alabama game and what Florida presents to Georgia that's different than Ole Miss, than Tennessee, than Texas especially, is that Jalen Milroe and that offense took downfield shots. They used Milroe's legs, obviously, really early on. They scored 4 touchdowns and jumped on him early. But they were aggressive, and they took big shots and big chances, and Ryan Williams obviously came through in a big moment. My gut is Lagway. Florida has nothing to lose in this game. They are still, Billy Napier is playing with house money here in terms of his future, and who knows what that looks like. I think they're going to be aggressive. I think DJ Lagway is said, you talk about the interceptions and touchdown stuff. This is either going to go really well for
money.
Yeah, I mean,
or is he just is he already basically broke?
No, because I think he's right now I think Florida fans are probably trending more. Or I think his job is trending safer through the weeks. Like I think, especially with DJ Lagway looking the way he is, I mean, I think there's a lot of reason for optimism. I think Lagway is a really good player, and I think he's going to be really good in Gainesville. He has the best true freshman grade of any freshman quarterback in the country per PFF, 78.5 this season. Georgia, like you alluded to, Mississippi State was getting bombed away in Athens with Van Buren and challenging this Georgia secondary deep. I think what you're going to see and what you saw from Bama, what you saw from Mississippi State, I think Florida is going to score on this Georgia defense. I think having those key safeties out is going to be a problem in the first half. I think Florida is going to challenge Georgia deep right out of the gate on Saturday. And I'm very, very curious how Georgia responds because I think Florida's going to go up on them. And Florida is going to just take some deep shots. And if they connect on a couple, I am curious what happens. They don't have the firepower and the sustainability that Alabama does to weather a Georgia second half surge. So that would be a risky play here. But if you were to tell me Florida's up like 28-21 or something at the half, I would not be surprised in this game. I think Florida's offense is legitimately making strides. Jacob Redner of 247, he said, quote, DJ Lagway has completed 5 passes of 40 or more yards in each of his 2 starts this year. No other Florida quarterback has completed 5 such passes in a game in the last 20 years, Matt Green. Lagway is legitimately, I mean, he's got a cannon. He's going to go downfield. This offense and this staff is going to let him spin it downfield. Georgia's susceptible on the back end. And I think if they can't get pressure and they struggle in that regard and DJ Lagway is able to uncork some and land them, then I think there's going to be a lot of Georgia fans, I'm going to go ahead and guess, are going to be very surprised at how Saturday goes. Because if you were to tell me of the 3 coming up here, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Florida, who, based on their personnel, who they have at quarterback, and how they're going to play, Georgia, who has the best chance to win of those 3? I think it's Florida right now. And I would go Tennessee 2 and Ole Miss 3. Ole Miss would absolutely floor me if Kirby Smart loses to Kiffin and this Ole Miss team next week.
I think Ole Miss is definitely the most difficult matchup of those 3.
See, I disagree.
That it's on the road. And
no, because I think Tennessee has to be above Ole Miss because Tennessee hasn't allowed anyone to score 20 points on them all season. So you're just going to be in a dogfight against Tennessee. Like there's no way around it. Tennessee's taking you to this Tennessee front 7 and Boo Carter and company and Dermott and everybody else. They're taking you to hell. And you're not.
So why would it be Florida over Tennessee then?
Because right now Tennessee hasn't connected on those bombs that Florida has. And I think if Tennessee starts connecting on those over the next couple of weeks, then I'll change my position on Tennessee. But we haven't seen that yet. We've seen it with Lagway. We've seen it with Florida now through 2 starts with Lagway. So my upset special of the weekend here, Matt Green, I'm going to take the Florida Gators to beat the Georgia Bulldogs in a stunner in Gainesville on Saturday night.
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, excuse me. Give me the Gators 38, the Dogs 30.
Wow, that would certainly be unexpected. One last note here. In the current top 25 rankings, Florida has played number 5, number 7, and number 10, and they still have to play number 2, number 6, number 16, and number 19. Just a brutal schedule.
We'll see if
Georgia. Hey, maybe if Napier wins this game, so you're definitely in Napier is keeping his job if you're picking Florida to win this game.
This changes so, but it's everything. Also because DJ Lagway is just flashing too much. I just don't think you can move off of him right now.
What do they say? What are they 4-3 right now? They win this game. I mean, they should go 8-4. Honestly, if they win this game.
I mean, they're going to be the chaos team the rest of the way.
I don't even know. We don't even know that this team's going to a bowl game, and I feel like you're ready to be all in on Billy Napier 2025. I'm here.
It's not Billy Napier. I'm just more in on I think DJ Lagway is just going to be special. That's my gut. I think DJ Lagway is legitimately.
Is DJ Lagway today better than Quinn Ewers?
Ooh.
No chance. Is their offensive scheme better than Steve Sarkisian in Texas? Absolutely not.
I think per game basis, no. In one game, who has a higher ceiling? DJ Lagway. DJ Lagway is a better one game. A one game, just put it all together, and then 4 bad games. Yeah. He's true freshman. He's a lot younger, but no, the best of DJ Lagway, I think, is still higher than anything we've seen from Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen the best, so it's hard to say. But I don't know. I think the fact that this is, like I was saying earlier with the Kirby Smart kind of origin story, the Florida game is never a game that's going to be overlooked by Georgia. So just for that purposes, when Georgia has a good team, it's they take care of business in Jacksonville. So I'll be shocked, honestly, if Georgia doesn't win this game. It's You're on the record though, sir. You gotta make your takes. If you're feeling it, you're feeling it.
Did you give a exact score or no?
Yeah, I said 34-17. I think Georgia covers.
Ohio State at Penn State, 3.5-point home dogs are the Nittany Lions. What say you, Matt Green?
So this was a tough one, sir. This one feels like it's got home dog energy. You know what I mean? Penn State, obviously, Bo Pribula. Am I pronouncing that right? He's going to be the starter, most likely, right? Drew Aller is definitely
he
out.
was practicing today, so I don't know. I think we're going to see both.
So that's the number one story, I feel like, for for Penn State. The one thing is they were down 10-7 when Pribula came in the Wisconsin game, and 2 of the 3 touchdown drives were with him at quarterback and not Aller. So, this offense didn't just fall apart when Aller came out of the game. Penn State's averaging 27 points per game in conference play. The only 30-point game was the one that went to overtime with USC. So I feel like this offense, I don't know. What comes down to me, I feel like Ohio State just needs this more. And I don't know if Ohio State is that team that's backed into the corner. I have a hard time picking against them. We saw that Ohio State Oregon game. I felt like that was just a toss up. I felt like I was watching 2 of the best, 3 or 4 teams in the country play that night. Watching Ohio State play against Nebraska last week, I did not think that was a top 10 team or anywhere close to it. So Penn State didn't look great against Wisconsin either. So maybe these 2 teams were looking ahead. They had this date circled. They knew Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt would be in the building. At the end of the day, Penn State doesn't need this game. I feel like it's everything's in their favor. It's at Penn State, or they're at home and everything, but they do the same thing they do every year, and they're in the playoff. Right? Ryan Day loses this game, misses the Big Ten championship for what, the 4th year in a row? They would miss the Big Ten championship potentially. He might be dead man walking. So I think Ohio State I think this is going to be just a classic Ohio State Penn State game. I think we're probably going to see a defensive touchdown or something. I'm feeling some turnovers in this one. I just think Will Howard I do trust. I feel like because the offense hasn't looked great, it's just kind of the easy thing to be like, oh, it's Will Howard. All these other quarterbacks they've had have been NFL stars and all that, or at least high draft picks. I don't feel like Will Howard's the problem right now. So I feel like the fact that he can go into a hostile environment, he's kind of been there before, apparently grew up a Penn State fan. I don't know. I don't feel like you should be saying that like the week of the game, but okay. You always want to go to Penn State. Here's your chance. I don't know. I think I
respect the honesty.
There you go. So it's a homecoming for him. I think Ohio State finds a way to get this done. So I'm going to say Ohio State goes into Happy Valley 27-23 and gets the win. And we're sitting at some three-way tie at the end of the Big Ten season, and no one knows what to do.
Wait, what was your final?
27-23. Ohio State covers.
Oh, man. We agree here, Matt Green. I have Ohio State winning this football game. It just kind of stinks that there's just doesn't feel like there's a lot of momentum for Penn State coming into this one. I don't like this is not a night game. This being a nooner just spells disaster for me, for Penn State. Like, they need this to be a night game for whatever reason, and also just for visual effects. Like, this game just looks better at night, so the fact that we're not getting this game at night is a travesty. And Penn State, though. Ohio State, both have been really good at not giving up sacks this season, some of the best in the country. I'm curious how Abdul Carter, Penn State's excellent linebacker, how he fares against this Ohio State offensive line, especially with the tackle situation, injury situation for the Buckeyes. I'm curious how that unfolds for them. OSU and Penn State are both top 10 in limiting long scrimmage plays in the nation, so I don't think you're going to see a lot of high-octane offense in this game. I think you're going to see a lot of keep away, a lot of ball control, but can Ohio State play ball control in that? Can they run the football? They've struggled in that regard. If their offensive line can't get that push against a pretty strong front seven for Penn State, I think there's going to be a lot of punting in this game, Matt Green. I think this one might come down to Ohio State's defense having to win this one on the road. I think Will Howard, I would still take over the combination of Drew Aller and I'm not going to pronounce the other quarterback's name because I'm not certain of it either. But Matt Green, I don't, until Penn State does this, I'm not picking Penn State to win this game. It's different. Like Florida, I've seen Florida beat Kirby Smart. They did it 4 years ago. Like I've seen it. I've seen those games go a certain way. I haven't seen James Franklin beat.
Franklin has at least done it. That was a Billy Napier. It's way more relevant.
I'm just saying, until I see it, I just can't do it here. I think Penn State is a good team. I think both teams are basically locks to make the college football playoff anyway, so it's not the end of the world if Penn State loses. But I don't know. I think people have gone way too negative on Ohio State and way too positive on Penn State. So I think this is a get-right game for the Buckeyes. Give me Ohio State, who never loses regular season games, really, because if you go back through their 21st century history, it's absolutely insane, their regular season record. But
only to Oregon and Michigan, like the last 5 years.
Yeah, like it's unbelievable. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick Ohio State here. Give me the Buckeyes. Let's go 30, Ohio State, 27, Penn State. I still think it's going to be close.
So 30-27 is not covering.
Yeah, I don't think they cover.
Oh, going to take Penn State to thread that needle, 3.5.
There you go. You know what's interesting too? Penn State's only won 3 times against Ohio State and State College, and they're basically just the same on the road. So they've actually fared pretty okay, especially of late in Columbus versus at home if they're going to pull off the upset. Oregon at Michigan, something we thought was going to be a big game before the year. 14.5 point spread though now for the Wolverines. What say you, Matt Green?
I feel like everyone's waiting for Oregon to struggle. Like they're just like, oh, Purdue, they have like this history of beating number 2 teams like twice in the last decade. Michigan, they won the national championship last year and have nothing left over, but it's a loud environment. I think like part of me feels that way, that like, going on the road at Michigan is just going to bring its difficulty. But like this Michigan team is just kind of sorry. Like Illinois, can't say really blasted someone when you only scored 21 points, but they essentially dominated Michigan, and Oregon just dominated that Illinois team a week ago. Same Michigan State. Like Michigan was in a 1-score game. Michigan State, Oregon dominated them pretty easily. They have not scored. They scored 20 points in 27. They scored against USC, 27. I forget that stat I was going to say. Their offense has not been good, Michigan's. And I don't trust them at all. I think Oregon, the 14.5, that's tough, but I'm going to say Oregon does it because I just don't believe in this Michigan offense at all. So give me Oregon to win this game. I'm going to say like 31-10.
31-10. I tend to agree here too. Michigan, it's just some people still haven't recalibrated to what Michigan is this year. And Michigan's quarterback situation is just dreadful. The offense is just dreadful. And you talk about like people waiting for Oregon to struggle. The problem with that is Oregon already struggled. It was at the beginning of the year. I don't know if people watched that Boise State game. They were in a dogfight against the Broncos. I think they struggled out of the gate, but they figured some stuff out. So I think if you're waiting,
and one
for
of those
that,
early was like Akron or someone. Someone they kind of played.
No, it was Idaho.
Yeah, there you go.
Idaho, they played really poorly. So I think they saw like early this year is when you saw Oregon struggle. I think they've really hit their stride of late. I don't see that slowing down anytime soon. Michigan's 12th in long scrimmage plays in the Big Ten. That's rough. They're 15th though in long rushing plays in the Big Ten. You would think with Donovan Edwards and company, they would be better there, but they just don't do anything well offensively. And I think Oregon's just going to kind of do what Texas did in the Big House. So give me the Ducks 38, Michigan 10.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
A&M at South Carolina, the Gamecocks at night. It's gonna be rowdy here for a 2.5-point home dog. Is this where Zeus steps up, Matt Green?
I really went back and forth with this game so much because I'm looking at Texas A&M. I love this South Carolina defense, this defensive line. They've just been wreaking havoc all year. They are coming off a bye. A&M coming off an emotional win, and they're really feeling themselves. Yeah, what'd you think about Mike Elko with the taking shots at Jimbo Fisher? Seems so unnecessary. Like, I'm not really sure why Jimbo Fisher's even being brought up right now. It's not a fast-talking politician or whatever he said. They're a real program now.
I mean, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong, but it's just weird. Like, is there bad blood between Elko and Jimbo? I guess he did coach under him for a couple years, so maybe he feels a certain kind of way about him. But I feel like I just keep going.
I love how it comes off as like out of character, and we don't know anything about Elko's character. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like I don't know anything about Mike Elko, and people are like, "Whoa, that was weird for Mike Elko." I'm like, "Do you really have a Mike Elko personality take?" I know nothing about this guy.
He coached at Duke, so they just assume that he's like Coach K, I guess. Yeah. I'm not sure. I feel like A&M is just a better version of South Carolina, right? Like, they have the good defense that's been making plays behind the line of scrimmage. Like, they have a competent offense. I feel like this offense has been more explosive than South Carolina's, and for the most part, you can trust the quarterback play, right? I mean, we don't know who it's going to be, but for the most part, it's been pretty good all year. So I feel like A&M's the better team. I just keep going back and forth. I just think the South Carolina team is better than their 4-3 record. And for that reason, I feel like they're due a bounce their way with how the LSU game went and how the Alabama game went. Like, I think it all comes out in the wash. Ball don't lie, if you will. And I think South Carolina finds a way to win this game. I think it might be ugly, but I don't know. I just feel like South Carolina's going to find a way. I feel like this game's going to be a lot of fun. Give me South Carolina 28, A&M 23. Home dog of the week.
I didn't think we would agree on this. Now I kind of want to, because my Florida pick, like just go A&M to save myself a little bit here. Because I think South Carolina is going to win this game too. I think A&M undefeated to this point. I think they're ahead of the curve here a little bit. Everyone's buying in, like, oh, Aggies, could they beat Texas now? Could they do this? Can they do that? And I'm like, I think they're probably the 9-3 team. I think Elko's a really good coach. I think they are trending in the right direction, but this is still a little bit too much too soon. Like, the thing about South Carolina, we joke about on this program, they're the best 4-3 team in college football this year.
Absolutely.
And they should have beaten 2 top 20 teams. Like, absolutely should have beaten LSU at home.
Also, they could have beaten Alabama. They should have beaten LSU. They were robbed by the refs.
Yeah.
But, like, Alabama was a winnable game for sure,
especially late. So, I mean, I just look at South Carolina. Like, South Carolina is legit in a lot of ways, but they also have some severe weaknesses. They have one of the worst offensive lines in the sport, and they have one of the best pass rushes in the sport. It's a tale of two sides of the ball there in the trenches for the Gamecocks. But look, they have the best defensive line pass rush in the SEC. They are going to get after Marcel Reed or Connor Wegman, whoever is under center. Texas A&M's blocked well, so I'm curious how the trenches go. This will be a big tell in this game if they can win there. If the Gamecocks do that, then they should win. But I also just look at them like A&M. Where do I think they are in the picking order? Are they ready for this? This is going to be an easy overlook spot for South Carolina for this team. And Lenora Sellers, I still like. I'm not selling my Lenora Sellers stock here. A little bit of Josh Dobbs in him. I still see that. I think this is kind of a bad spot for Marcel Reed because you talk him up, not the most accurate quarterback, really good running around, but I don't know. Like, we'll see. He's coming in. It's different coming in relief and then potentially being the starter. I don't know if they've named the starter as of this recording, but I don't know. I think South Carolina, how well do they protect? Does it matter how good the offense is to win this game? I don't know. My gut is South Carolina is going to muddy this up. I think we're going to go back to the drawing board where people are just like, oh, Marcel Reed's the guy. I'm still not certain of that because I've still seen good Connor Wegman this season too. I think we see both quarterbacks in this game. And I think we see the bad side to going back and forth with two talented quarterbacks in the middle of the season. It's not all sunshines and rainbows.
I think that's the X factor. The defense potentially gives one of these South Carolina's defense gives one of these quarterbacks a hard time, and then you start going back and forth. That could change the dynamic a little bit.
I think South Carolina, they've been too close too many times now. I think they get it done here against the Aggies tonight. So give me South Carolina 20, Texas A&M 16.
20-16. I will say this. I see this quote from Mike Elko. Yeah, it's kind of the same rhythm we're always in. We talked about not really having ones and twos, so everybody's getting reps out there, getting ready to go. So really not determining who the starter is from what it sounds like.
I think we're going to see both.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense. It's just a hostile environment, night game. Could be a tough time to do that.
Absolutely. Matt Green, Ole Miss at Arkansas. Sir. There we go. Ole Miss at Arkansas. I think this will be the most fun SEC game of the weekend. Arkansas 7-point home dogs. What say you, sir?
Absolutely, sir. The Hogs just want to have fun. That's what they do so well. This was probably the game I struggled with the second most because I'm the number one Ole Miss hater I think out there. I feel like I'm never a believer in them. They seem fraudulent every year. And this year they also the last time we saw them, it was against Oklahoma, right? That was the last game Ole Miss played. I like this. So Jaquindon Jackson, I think, is out for this game, or he's at least questionable. Did you see the dude that Arkansas had playing running back this past week go for $175 against Mississippi State? Guy's 6'1", 253. Braylon Russell. This guy is a beast.
Yeah, Arkansas. He was down to Tennessee and Arkansas in his recruitment. Tennessee almost pulled him out of the state of Arkansas. Local kid. He's a good player.
He wanted to go to a top-notch university and went to Fayetteville, Arkansas. That's what it was.
Wow.
But so I just feel like I don't trust Ole Miss, and going on the road, I feel like that win early versus Tennessee has everyone feeling Arkansas's home field advantage and everything. I feel like I want to pick Arkansas to win this game. I'm definitely picking Arkansas to cover. Oh, but I think I'm going to have to take Ole Miss to win. I think obviously their defense has been better this year. I don't know. I think this is a coin flip, to be honest. Like I said, I was going back and forth. I'm going to say Ole Miss 31-30. Like, this comes down. Maybe Sam Pittman scores at the end and goes for 2 again, like he did a couple years ago, and it doesn't work out. I don't know, but this one's going to be a back and forth game, I think. Taylor Green's going to make some plays. Jackson Dart's going to make some plays. Yeah, give me 31-30. Ole Miss wins, but Arkansas covers.
Yeah, I think this is going to be back and forth. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Arkansas wins this game outright. But I still just think Ole Miss is going to keep surviving until Georgia. I hope Ole Miss wins just because I'm conflicted because Tennessee kind of needs Arkansas to win this game to continue to beef up their resume. It looks better that Arkansas lost if Arkansas continues to win. However, I really want to see Ole Miss and Georgia potentially in a huge spot the following week. So in interest for me, I'm
when
kind of
Georgia
conflicted.
loses to Florida, that's going to ruin the game day anyway, right?
But it adds more pressure. That's an elimination game for both schools at that point.
There's that.
Which will add to it. So Ole Miss and Arkansas, they're both atop the SEC in long scrimmage plays. 1-2. Ole Miss is third best in turnover margin in the SEC. Both top 3 in just getting to the red zone altogether in red zone attempts. Their offenses are both electric. It just doesn't feel like it with Ole Miss for whatever reason. Ole Miss, like you said, Oklahoma game last week just didn't feel great, but they still did what they needed to do. They've had guys in and out of the lineup. They need to be healthy. Trey Harris needs to be healthy and guys like that, but they still have a lot of talent.
And he's out for this game, right?
I think so. So that hurts, but I still just think, I don't know. I still think people are a little bit too down on Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin here. But they are in the Mizzou zone to me, where they're kind of flirting with just like, it feels a little fraudulent. And the Kentucky loss at home is still pretty awful, considering what we've seen from Kentucky the rest of the way. But
this would help get out of the Mizzou zone for sure.
Yes, but isn't it fair to say they're in the Mizzou zone where it just feels like they need to prove something like a statement win before?
They don't feel as bad as Mizzou. Like I don't even know if Mizzou is good at all, to be honest.
I'm not saying that.
I don't know how they're still ranked as being like a 2-loss team. Like they definitely feel, kind of artificial, like or whatever you're saying, fraudulent from what they were the preseason expectations. But yeah, it's definitely similar.
All that being said, I'm still going to go Ole Miss on the road here. But I think Arkansas covers. Give me Ole Miss 34, Arkansas 31.
We agree again, sir. What is going on?
I don't know. Duke at Miami. I tend to think we might agree the rest of the way here. This might not be a separation Saturday for us. Duke at Miami. Miami 21.5 point favorites at home. The Manny Diaz Bowl. What say you?
So yeah, the Manny Diaz Bowl. So Duke comes in at 6-2, coming off that overtime loss to SMU. The thing is, Duke's had a way of keeping all their games close and pretty low scoring this year. Played pretty good defense. Malik Murphy's 17 touchdowns, 5 picks on the year. He's been taking care of the ball pretty well. I tend to just feel like Duke's not going to beat themselves. And for that, and Miami's just been playing everyone so close. Other than Florida State, they've been playing everybody close. I just tend to think that this isn't going to be just an easy win. 21.5 just feels a little high to me. So I'm going to take Miami to win this one. But not cover. So I'm going to take Miami 34-17.
Not cover. Duke is just like that SMU loss and the way they lost with all the turnovers by SMU and to still lose that game is just brutal. This Duke offense I was looking at, this offense is just awful. Miami has 70 more. This is just an insane stat I found going through the CFP stats. Miami has 70 more 10-plus yard plays than Duke this season. 70. They played the same amount of games. 70 10-plus yard plays than Duke. Duke, though, they're number 2 in turnover margin nationally. Something has to give here. Does the turnover margin, Cam Ward making some mistakes, keep Duke in this? Duke's competent, but I don't know. It's so interesting. It's is Miami going to keep doing this? Are they going to allow this Duke offense to create explosive plays against them? Or is this going to be an actual just normal Miami blowout win? My gut is I think Miami just blows them out. I don't think Duke's good. I think Duke is a fraudulent. They're a fraudulent team in a lot of ways. I think Duke
worst
might have a
6-2 team in college football.
I think they're the worst 6-2 team in college football. Like, give me the 4-3 South Carolina Gamecocks over the 6-2 Duke Blue Devils any day of the week, sir. I think Cal. No, I'm just let's not go that far.
Missouri
No,
6-2. Also, they might be 5-2.
Duke, Missouri would be. Oof, I don't want to watch that. But give me Cam Ward and the Miami Hurricanes. Let's go 45-17.
All right.
Louisville at Clemson could potentially spicy. All Tennessee fans should be locked in on this one too, pulling for those cards. Louisville 10.5-point home or road dogs. What say you, sir?
So this is the best team that Clemson has played since Georgia in the season opener. I know I was giving you some stats about Clemson and why they might be just as good as Texas earlier tonight. But let me give you some other stats that show why they might be a total fraud also. Their conference wins this year were against these FPI ranked opponents. Number 68, 74, 78, 89, and 93. 68, the best one is Florida State, by the way. Like, I'm not saying Florida State's better than Stanford or who else have they played. I don't even. NC State is in there. Louisville is 17. So this is going to be in the FPI. So this is by far the best team they've played since that season opener against Georgia. I feel like I still just trust Clemson at home. This Louisville offense is, been kind of whatever at times. I think I just trust Clemson at home, prime time, night game in Death Valley. I'm going to say 34-20. They're not. It's not just going to be an easy blowout like some of these other games have been, but I think they win by 2 scores.
Tyler Shook's good. Like, the Louisville is just, they were in the ACC title game last year. I think they are still on the upward trajectory. I think this is just kind of a comeback year. They're not one of the 2 best in the ACC. They're somewhere in the top 4, maybe top 5 in the ACC this year. I think they're solid, and I think they're going to give Clemson a game here is my gut. Clemson's 3rd in conference play in long scrimmage plays. Garrett Riley and Cade have really settled in and seem to be finding some chemistry and some big plays with this offense. A lot more explosive than we see from Clemson in recent years. Louisville, though, they're 3rd nationally in conference play in 40-plus yard plays. I think they're going to hit some bombs on Clemson here. I think they're going to keep this close. I think Clemson's going to give up some big plays to the Cards. I think Cards are going to go big play hunting in this one. But Clemson's also 9th in turnover margin nationally in conference play. So I think Clemson ultimately wins here, but I do think Louisville makes this very interesting and covers. Give me Clemson 31, Louisville 28.
All right.
All right, sir. As we move through the back half here, Pitt at SMU. Neither of us had this as like a huge game before the year, but it is a huge ACC game now with Pitt traveling to SMU. SMU 7.5-point home favorites. What say you, Matt Green?
Pitt Panthers, sir, allowing 17 points per game against ACC competition this year. I think they just got another interception against Kyle McCord since I started my sentence. Kevin Jennings throwing 4 picks the last 2 games. Give me the Pitt Panthers. Go on the road and win this one outright as a 7.5-point road dog, 27-24.
Pitt winning outright, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, first time for Pitt, 7-0 in a really, really long time. Decades for the Panthers. Maybe going back to the Tony Dorsett years, seems like it's probably my guess without pulling it up, but it's been that long. And I mean, SMU had no business winning last week, to your point, where there still seems something a little off with SMU, but they are home here, which I think will be a big deal. Pitt is 14th nationally in limiting long scrimmage plays since they started conference play. SMU 107 in that stat, sir. So they've been giving up all kinds of big plays once conference play is kicked off for the ACC. Noted ACC legends, the SMU Mustangs. But I still just something about them at home here, and I think the magic comes back down to earth a little bit for the Pitt Panthers. I think SMU gets their first big ACC win of the young SMU membership status here in the ACC. Give me SMU to take care of business as home favorites. SMU 38, Pitt 30.
Yeah, who would have thought with Ohio State, Penn State, this is the only other game of ranked opponents, or two ranked opponents playing. Pitt and
That's
SMU.
wild.
I think everyone saw that before the season started. You said 38-30?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Indiana at Michigan State. The Spartans, 7.5-point home dogs. What say you, sir?
Well, we still don't know the quarterback situation here, right? So they could be on the backup
Seems like
again.
it's not going to be Rourke again. It seemed
okay, and I mean they looked good. They looked good versus Washington without their starters. So 1-2 scores. I think Washington's better than Michigan State, right? Like, I don't know. They're 4-4 right now. They had a close loss to Michigan last week. I don't know. Aiden Childs is throwing 9 interceptions on the season. Is that the most in the Big Ten this year? It's up there. I think I just gotta keep picking Indiana and Kurt Signetti until they prove me wrong. So I'm not gonna pick them to cover. I feel like I was really close to picking this upset just because it's Indiana. I think there's probably a lot of people that are gonna be not trusting Indiana. I think they're a phony 8-0. But they feel pretty solid. So even without their starter, I'm going to say Indiana wins this one but doesn't cover. Give me Indiana like 24-20.
No Aiden Childs left here. No more. No, there was no. I thought you were going to say something else there.
I had nothing to say. I don't know. I don't know why I would.
They don't beat a bad Michigan team a week ago. That was it. Like if you're Michigan State, you're like, man, this is the time to get Michigan. Was this year, and they couldn't do it. I still like Jonathan Smith. I'm still buying some Sparty stock going into the next couple of years here. But like you, I think Kurt Signetti finds a way. But I think this is gonna be ugly. I think Michigan State's gonna cover. I think this is gonna be another low scoring game that Michigan State's in. So give me Michigan State to cover. Let's go 24-21 Indiana. I think Indiana might need a walk-off field goal here in this one to escape East Lansing.
Yeah, I'm feeling you.
Final two here, Matt Green. Vandy at Auburn. Not a lot of national eyeballs, but I will be very curious how this game goes, sir. Auburn, 7-point home favorites. The better still love Auburn, sir.
I think it's Vanderbilt. I don't think the bettors can get that out of their heads, and maybe I can't either because I don't know. It's still Vanderbilt, right? Like they gave Texas all they wanted. I feel like the score probably was closer than the game really was, but Diego Pavia, I think did prove it felt like the Luck of the Irish movie. You remember that Disney Channel movie back in the day, right?
Wait,
Ran
which
out
one?
of the Luck of the Irish.
Oh yeah, who could?
Yeah, you remember that Disney
Channel original movie? Yeah. Halloween Town. Go check it out. Halloween Town 1, Halloween Town 2, Halloween Town High. As Halloween's coming out the day of this recording.
You don't need to flex all your Disney Channel knowledge. But,
don't look under the bed. Under wraps.
There you go. You got any more? You all done?
Nah, sorry.
I think that's how it felt to me with Diego Pavia, and I think he may have ran out of his luck. Like he was doing some wild things against Texas and throwing some terrible interceptions. So he is human. He's not Johnny Football. I just think I gotta trust Auburn. I think they're gonna get on a win streak, 2 in a row for the Auburn Tigers. So I do think it'll be close though. So 7 points. Let me take Vandy covering that spread. So I'm going to take 31-27. Auburn wins this game. Vandy covers.
I thought you were going to go Vandy here.
No. Jordan-Hare Stadium. Is this a nooner?
I don't know.
I'll get on that. I'll look at that.
Does Diego Pavia go? I mean, you talk about an all-time legend. Does he get a statue if he wins with New Mexico State and Vanderbilt at Jordan-Hare? Like, does it become Diego Pavia Stadium? Or does he just become governor of Alabama? Is that how that works? Maybe. I mean, you can't rule it out. I just think Vanderbilt they didn't get snuffed out by Texas, but it just feels like they're coming back down to earth a little bit. And I think Auburn's rising a little bit. Diego Pavia, I think, is going to keep this close. I just don't think Hugh Freeze is going down to the sky twice in back-to-back years. Like Auburn cannot lose this game after getting over the Kentucky hump. You got to start stacking some wins now in conference play. Like the class that you got coming in is really good recruiting-wise, but you cannot lose this game. Like you still got Alabama on the schedule. You still got some other tough ones, but like, man, I understand Vanderbilt's improved, but you cannot lose to Diego Pavia. Like you'll never live this down. Like people will troll you over the Diego stuff for many, many years if he beats you with two different teams in back-to-back. And Jerry Kill and the staff beats you.
Shoot, I forgot about that. I was just thinking about the Alabama and Auburn same year. This beat Auburn back-to-back years. That would be that
was what I was
brutal.
talking about. What do you think I was talking about with him getting the stadium named after him?
I was thinking about beating both Alabama teams same season.
Oh, no. Yeah, no. He went, him and this staff went into Auburn last year and won this game.
Yeah, I'm with you now.
But yeah, no, I think Auburn wins because if they lose, I'm not sure how Hugh's future looks like at Auburn. This would be what I would think here. So give me Auburn. Let's go Auburn 27, Vandy 24.
All right. So you're taking Vandy to cover as well.
I am.
Sidebar question before we get to our last game. Over under 0.5 SEC coaches getting fired this year.
Over.
You think who's it going to be? Who's the one that gets fired?
I mean, it just has to be somebody. Like there's just no way.
I don't know. Pittman, Napier, Beamer.
There's still a lot of ball left, man. Like that's what you got to remember. There's still 5 games for a lot of these teams. I think someone's going 3-9, 2-10. Like there's still some. Like I think Stoops is in danger. Like there's some guys for sure. But I think it might not even
fired. Would Stoops leave?
That's what I'm saying. Like
Stoops
I think
becomes the head coach at Baylor or something like that. Like a not maybe lateral move, maybe a step down.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think there aren't many options, but there's still 5 games left. So let's see how Pittman, Napier, Stoops, Hugh Freeze, Venables. Let's see how they all close the season.
I'm taking the under, sir.
Okay. I would just be surprised. When was the last time 0 coaches? I mean, it's a 16-team league now.
Yeah, I'd have to look that up. The 2025 hot seat would be getting real hot, though. We might be getting Brent Venables. We might be getting Hugh Freeze on that thing. That 2025 seat could look a lot. Kalen DeBoer might be on it. Who knows? Who knows how Alabama fans are feeling?
Let's down the line. All right, sir. Final thing. You get 30 seconds.
Dude, Brian Kelly? Brian Kelly? Who knows?
No. That's a retirement thing if he leaves. Last
one?
Yeah, last one. You got 30 seconds here. Minnesota at Illinois. That's all I can do. It's a straight up pick 'em.
I love these Golden Gophers. But they won 3 straight coming in. But I don't know. I think Illinois at home. I'm going to take Illinois +3. Illinois. Give me Illinois 20-17.
We agree here too. It's a coin flip, home game. Minnesota figuring some stuff out, but I still don't. I like Illinois is a solid team. They got blown out by Oregon. That was rough, but they're just not. They're not at that level, but they're a solid tier 2 Big Ten team this year. So yeah, give me Illinois to win and cover. Give me Illinois. Let's go 29. Minnesota 24.
Offensive explosion for the Illini. 29 points. I guess they put up a 50 spot against Purdue or overtime. I don't know how many overtimes that one went to, but
it's true.
Just 1 overtime? I'm not sure.
I don't remember. I'm not going to go back through the Purdue.
It's not that important.
Here. Well, that's all I've got, Matt Green. This will be a fun weekend, hopefully, for both our teams, and I'm curious to see what our pod is like on Sunday if I'm right on a certain game and
I can't wait for Florida to go up 7-0 and you start freaking out and hitting up my phone because you're a big first quarter guy. Hey, we haven't even addressed that. You're a big first quarter, first half guy. You have to be losing your mind at these Tennessee games. Like that's everything you believe in is being a first quarter guy. They're finding ways to win. They're challenging your fandom.
Hey, I appreciate it. So they're making it complicated for me, which is all you can ask. Make it interesting every single week. Matt Green, always a pleasure, and I'll talk to you in a couple days.
Yes, sir.
Nicely done, nephew. the Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.